It did. Oh well. No. Gordy doesn't do fruit-based technology. Do I look like a fit bean? Okay, sorry guys. Oh well. Situation normal. We'll revert back to hitting things. Hopefully it works. No, this is why. If you don't say. There we go. Thanks, man. It's a good start. It's a good start. Okay. So first off, let's talk about what is Freemo N, because I know that there's not really a group of Freemo N modules, and obviously it's N scale. Anything I'm going to talk about can apply to any scale. The NMRA is all scales and any scale. But Freemo N is a modular concept that allows free-flowing forms of layouts to be created. There is an example, thank you, Dwight, that was brought in, and it's over here, of a normal Freemo N module. And maybe, if you're very careful afterwards, if you want to feel how heavy that is, it's way too heavy to put on an aeroplane. The purpose and where this came from is, and why I did this, is because at the National Convention in Grapevine, Texas this year, we had, and last year in St. Louis, we had the Ops Roadshow, which was Gordy's great idea of reincarnate the Ops Roadshow, use Freemo N to do it, which is because we can use, N scale takes up less space, big layout, teach people how to operate, do train timetable and train order. Great. But then the guys said, we're all bringing modules. Why are you not bringing a module? And I think they thought I was just going to laugh at this. But I went, oh, that's a really good point. You know, as a leader, we're supposed to, you know, muck in and, you know, show the way together. So you shouldn't expect anyone to do something that you're not prepared to do yourself. However, traditional Freemo modules are made out of no, we don't use millimeters here in America. 3/4 inch ply, okay? And 3/4 inch ply is particularly heavy, and aeroplanes don't like things particularly heavy. Not if you want to wear more than a kilt for the entire convention. So, which wouldn't bother me, but might bother everybody else. So, I had to invent a new way to make modules lighter. And we talked about making them out of foam board, and we talked about making them out of all kinds of materials. And the problem with that is that these have got compression. So think like a wooden framed caboose. You don't shove a wooden framed caboose into the middle of the train because you're going to squish it. Well, that would be what happened if we used just foam. And we couldn't just use any kind of plastic card or styrene, sorry, using American terms, styrene, because the same thing would happen. And at the end of each module, you use a C-clamp to hold them together. So if it was anything that was hollow in theory, you would crush it and your module would be destroyed. Quite the challenge, because anyone who's done 3D printing knows that 3D prints are quite brittle and do not like being squeezed. But we'll come on to how we overcame that in a minute. So Freemo N is designed to satisfy really the needs of an advanced modeler over the needs of the beginner or potentially the general public, but that's not really true because they do set up displays and do that. It's at 50 inches if you're not familiar. It uses code 55 rail for the main, minimum radius of 22 inches, and it uses number 6 turnouts. Layouts are supposed to be optimized for prototypical look and operations. Now in N scale, this is quite a novel thing when Freemo N really took off in N scale, because most of the N scale modular standards were multiple track from the days of DC, trains running around like a racetrack, and or T-track, which we're all familiar with. And unless you're modeling a main line somewhere, or you're modeling the Pensy, I suppose the N-track format doesn't quite really work prototypically if you're such inclined. Freemo N allows a single or a double track standard, specifies only the end plate, and the module in between can be whatever way you want it to be. So it's completely free form as long as you're within the minimum radius rules that we've just already talked about. There is a simple end plate specification, so it's absolutely smooth, which means you can integrate Freemo N into home layouts, which a lot of people have done. So a lot of people have Freemo N modules that they take away from their home layouts, whether that's a branch line off the home layout or whatever. And basically, the idea was that there can be a loose association among individuals to come together and create really big setups of modules right really big. So if anyone's gone on YouTube, you can look for Evanston, Wyoming, Freemo N, and in the old railroad shops where they maintain big boys, they're pretty big. They set up a Freemo N setup there, and they'll be doing it again in 2024 and again in 2027. Next year, they're looking at 1,800 linear feet of modules of main line plus branch lines. That's just the main line. And one of my Freemo 3D printed modules that I'll show you in a minute is going to be drop dead center in the middle of that setup. So if everything goes wrong, it's Gordy's fault, which is fine. That's normal. There's standardized scenery at the end plates. Basically, all that means is we don't run rivers and roads over the end plates, because if the next module doesn't have one, it looks rubbish. Not so in other end scale modular standards. If you've seen a T-track setup, you have roads that just end into caves or rock faces or whatever. They use DCC, LocaNet, and Digitrax control throughout, and the rolling stock that we use meets or exceeds NMRA standards for reliability purposes, of course. So standard Freemo module, this might not work. Hang on. My pointer will work. Right, my pointer works, but I'm going to be mobile, so I'm just going to test the cameraman's ability. So standard plate, if that doesn't work, it's not working. Maybe the battery's going flat in this. Okay, so you can see there a standard plate. Standard plate is up to 24 inches wide. Mine on the modules that I've got on the table is 12 inches wide because it's going into a suitcase. And 24 inches wide, suitcases don't go together. Even Delta won't let you take a suitcase that big with a box. So the end plates are all 6 inches high, minimum of 12 inches wide. Officially, they must be 18mm birchwood. They're secured with C-clamps. Each module must have a fascia that contours to the scenery. The fascia must be black. That's not difficult with 3D printing, because you 3D print it in black, it's black. And the modules are viewed from both sides. If you want to take a note of the website, do so now. I won't show it again. That's the Freemo N Standards website. Really, really good, the Freemo N wiki. Dead straightforward, really easy to understand. So this is what a standard module would normally look like, and that's going to weigh not a lot by normal modular standards. That probably has about 4 pounds of ply in the end boards. The sides there probably another sort of, let's say 10. Let's say it's about 10 or 12 pounds in weight. But you've got to put your scenery on, you've got to put your track on, and you want to protect that on a plane. It's going in a box. The box is going to probably weigh about 8 pounds on top. You're soon hitting your weight limit for taking things on an aircraft. And my idea was that I wanted to design a standard that was reusable, because there's no point doing this as a one-off. I wanted to design a standard that could be usable, so that my thought was people could fly, close your ears, John, I'm sorry, Southwest. You can take 2 checked bags full of modules and a carry-on with your trains. Clothes are optional, right? Off wherever in the world that you want. You can always buy clothes, but please wash them and yourself. So why not just use plywood? And this is what we just talked through. So the end plates weigh 30 ounces in birch ply. A 2-foot module with plywood frame, foam tops, fascia can weigh over 10 pounds. And 3D printing, you can save up to 75% of the weight. Which, given that not all of us, but some of us are getting older and don't want to be lifting really heavy things, actually a really light module is really good. Now is probably a good time to start passing those modules to other tables. Don't hog them now. Pass them around, and you can have a look, because we'll get on to the detail of how we do these in a minute. So share around. Right, so the challenges with 3D printing. If we print it with 100% infill, that means that there's no gaps inside it. It's solid like the plywood. It's actually going to weigh more than plywood. So it defeats the object of the exercise. Also, on a 3D printer, your build plate is limiting. You cannot print, well, you can if you've got a big enough printer and you've got the money, and I'm sure somebody in this room probably has. You can't really 3D print a module in one piece. There are some modules, so there's some little tiny ones going around. You'll see them as they're getting passed around. There's a really tiny 22.5 degree corner. That is the biggest module I've been able to print in one piece. So we need to make this sectional and all slot together. Filament was, at the time I wrote this clinic, more expensive than a sheet of plywood, but thankfully, plywood is getting more expensive, and everyone who's building a basement layout's going, Gordy, what are you doing? But it's getting more expensive. Somebody told me that it was $75 a sheet or something like that, and I nearly fell off my chair. So it is getting more expensive. You will need to do some 3D printing normally. To design your own stuff, you're going to need to be able to use some CAD software. You're going to be able to teach yourself to go beyond a basic frame, but I'll come on to that in a minute. It's not actually as difficult as you think. And printed material can need special adhesives. So you can glue this together with Gorilla Glue, but if you're lucky enough to live in the United States, there's a product called 3D Glue, which I can't get for some reason at the moment in the UK, but that sticks stuff together and it might as well be concrete. So that is better material, better glue, and it's actually a glue that's designed to work with the filament. Not all glues are created equal, as we know with glue in form or any kind of plastic. So what I did is I needed to do a proof of concept, because I thought if there's nothing ventured, nothing gained. If this doesn't work, it'll be fine. I haven't actually brought the prototype with me because my children have hidden it. And anyone who follows me on Facebook will know that my children love trains, and yeah, train stuff disappears. I have no doubt. I bolted the train room door before I left. It's got a lock that's higher than my wife can reach. There should be nobody in there. Otherwise, the wife and everyone else will be in there playing trains, and the trains may be scattered to the four winds when I get back. So it was cut down to a 12 by 12 to fit into a travel box. It's a modular design. This was a one-off. I absolutely 3D printed everything on this module: the bridge abutments, and the module, the top surface, the scenic surface of the module as well, which is contoured. Never doing that again. The CAD work in this was ridiculous, and I'm never doing it again. To make a hill, no hill is uniform, so stepping it down, nightmare. Never doing it again. But effectively, what it created is a frame, as you can see there on the side. There's 3 sections down the side, so it created a frame that could be any length you want. Once you've got that standard end, you're all good. So I attempted to 3D print the contours for the scenery. It worked. But you're talking hours and hours of CAD work. You could do that for everyone. If you like CAD, great. If you're normal, just put foam in the top, and we'll talk about it in a minute. So I printed a 30% test shot, which is a great thing you can do with any 3D printing. You can scale things up, scale things down, and just prove that it would work. The next thing was, will it withstand clamping? So we had to print it full size. So this was the frame. The frame itself, the scenery sat on top, so it wasn't quite 6 inches tall. The end plates were printed in 50% infill to test whether you could clamp. And I printed at 40%, 30%, 20%. And what infill means is it leaves gaps, so it has a pattern inside between the outer walls of the bits that you can see, so it's not completely full, so it saves material. The problem is when you're applying a C-clamp to it, it will go straight through it. So 50 mil was the minimum density for it not to go straight through. But in terms of filament, that was quite expensive. And I found a solution, and we'll come on to that. So scenery sat on top, 50% ends to fit. Sides were modular, so I could have made this bigger. You see the slots there, top and bottom. The slots were put in to fit a cross member to give it some additional strength. It doesn't actually need that, but I just did it because I printed the top in 2 halves, and I didn't want a saggy top. It's a bit like the Great British Baking Show. No one wants a saggy bottom. Well, I didn't want a saggy top. And the little bits that you can see there, the little holes, it's going to be travels inside a plastic box, and I'll show you a wee photograph of that in a minute. And so it uses reusable cable ties to cable tie it into the box in an attempt to stop TSA from destroying it. So that's the bits I've just talked about. Sides, there's the clamp zone between the 2 bits that stick out, which really helps. The other thing I should probably say with Freemo N is, and it's the same with every modular standard, the reason why they use C-clamps is because they want to clamp directly under the rails. So your clamping zone is very, very defined, and there you can reinforce. So you don't have to reinforce the entire end plate. This was the scenery subbase, and the CAD people in the room, I apologize for how bad my CAD work is, but you can see that nice gentle S-curve, totally unrealistic. Making that intersect with the other embankment, totally ridiculous. And then making that slide back so that the abutment would fit in, even more ridiculous. And it took me hours and hours to get this right, and I was losing the will to live. So that's why I decided we're never doing this again. But because it was all 3D printed, what I was able to do is do some really complex shapes, Realized then I don't need to go and cut a fascia into it because it's got the nice swooping look on the outside. It's all done. And I also added holes for the track feeders, so I didn't need to drill through my bench work at all. I just put the wire through. So just drop the track straight on. And then underneath, you can't quite see it on this, but you can on the next. I actually fitted runners for all my track bus wires. So all my bus wires were held up through these holes underneath. So it was all self-supporting, kept everything nice and out the way. And on the right there, you can see that on the 3D printer. People are going to ask me what 3D printer that is. That's just a very, very cheap starter printer. That's an Ender 3 Pro. So about, I don't know, they're always coming down and up and down in price. It's Prime Day or Amazon something today. You could probably get one for about $99 or less. Not expensive, that's all. So there it is in my kitchen. Yes, my wife's very understanding. The printer, as you can see, is next to it. Me and the wife decided to run the printer in the kitchen. But it's my kitchen, I cook, so it's fine. So I do the cooking, it's all good. The kids are starving right now for the next month. Yeah, so this is how it slots together. So the frames, they're all glued together and the top's starting to take shape. And then there it was with the 3D printed sides. Now, I'm an MMR, but I honestly believe that being a master model railroader is 99% being able to fix your own mistakes. So this bit in the middle, you can see there's some extra fill in the middle there, and that's because numpty, I managed to not measure very well on CAD and left a 10mm gap down the middle of my model that I had to fill in. But it happens to all of us. And the bit that's in grey, sorry, my pipe on me is just, the bits that are in grey are off a resin printer, so 2 different types of printer. Resin is better for detail. The filament doesn't need to be detailed if you're going to put scenery over the top of it. And so to put the scenery in, this is now it starts to look like putting scenery in. It's plastic. Any glue that you can use to glue to styrene, you can use to glue to this. So the world's your oyster. Crack on with it and do whatever you want. And then as you start to put the scenery in, now tell me that is 3D printed. You're starting not to be able to tell. Bit of weather in there on that bridge. Not my best work, but we got a bit better than that. And so here's the clamping. So this was it underneath. So this is underneath that prototype module, and you can see that it's clamped. Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you, 90%, or everyone, unless you're asleep. Oh, great. You'll see that there's a piece of plywood. And what I realized is that if I recess, that bit of plywood, by the way, is sold on Amazon. It's 1.5mm thick. Sorry for using metric, but engineers use metric. It's 1.5mm thick. It's 100mm by 100mm. So call that as best you can, rough 4 inches by 4 inch square. Amazon sells these for home crafters to do little laser cut things on these little engravers that Amazon sell. So you can buy you can buy anywhere from 10 to 100 of these, and they're like 100 might be $30 or $40. It's peanuts. It's already cut for you. It's the right size. If you add that, which costs me about 25 cents each, maybe less. If you add that, the infill's only 20%. You save 30% more material. And we've not managed to break one yet. I'm not going to put it in a proper press, but it's strong enough to hold the modules. So now we use a composite end. And then for travel, how are we going to travel this? How are we going to put this thing all the way across? I use something called a really useful box. Yes, these are made in the UK. Okay, and we all know that we want to make America Great Britain again. But we have these here. They sell them in the US. You can buy them from Staples. To test, they drove a truck over it, and it didn't crush it. So these boxes are really, really strong. And what's also really good about these boxes is, unlike most plastic boxes that taper, these don't. So they taper ever so slightly. It's almost undetectable. So it goes in there. It's then cable tied into the bottom. We put packing peanuts in the top. We stick a photograph on the top for TSA. You leave the bottom open because that's where all the wires are. TSA don't like that. So they can see what the wires are without out of the box. They loved it. They even sent me a little love note and said how much they thought it was brilliant. So here we go. So lessons learned from the prototype. Custom 3D printing scenery subbases are time consuming. Do not do it. Modules do need cross braces, ideally somewhere between 150 and 300 mil, just to stop any shear movement. This isn't wood, you're not putting screws into it. So it is a weaker material, and you don't want, if you dropped it on the corner, you wouldn't want it to just collapse like a pallet would, like a skid that you would put a load in. The sides don't need to have as much infill, so as much material as the ends. So the sides on all the modules going around here only have 5% infill, which makes them lighter and cheaper to do. And the ends have 20%, as we talked about. Doing a 30% rapid prototype on anything that you're going to do on a 3D printer, I would say for the first time you print it is an absolute must. Because if it works at 30 or 25%, it'll work at 100% in theory. And also you don't waste a load of material finding out. The ends printed at 50% infill were really expensive. We're talking like almost half a roll of filament, and they're heavy. And it's only really that clamping zone that needs reinforcing. So we move to the ply. And the cost is a little bit more than traditional plywood module, but actually our good friends in the East are driving up the price of plywood better than I can, with Siberian larch, etc., now being unavailable. And you're now on Baltic birch, which is even more expensive. And therefore, plywood is overtaking the cost of filament, which is great. And if you wait for, if you're a 3D printer, you'll know that if you wait for Cyber Monday and Black Friday, you can buy your year's supply of filament at about 50% price of it normally. So there was holes in there for locating the frame section. On the prototype, if I just go back a few slides, you'll see I made a bit of a mistake again. Oops, I'm going to go back loads of slides. Oh dear, that was silly of me. See the holes in the side, the slot? I made the slots on the side. I'm silly. I didn't repeat that mistake again. So the slots are now in the end, so I hit the slots. Okay, right, now we'll go through. Look at that. If you hit it fast, it works better. So what came next? So next, we worked on composite ends. Now, these look different, don't they? These are taller. These are the ends that are on these modules that are floating around. I haven't got a full-size one. I should have done, but I forgot to pick it up on my way out the door. So these can be printed in 2 halves or printed in 1 piece. I use 2 3D printers, an Ender 3, which means they need to be printed in 2 halves, but they're absolutely as solid as one that's printed in 1 piece. They're actually better. Because if they're printed in 2 pieces, it gives you a center line for your track, if you want it dead down the center. But you can print it in 1 piece. I use an Ender 3 Pro and I use an Ender 5 Max Pro. And the Ender 5 Max will print something 400mm wide on the print bed, so it'll print a 12-inch module end, no problem. So that's what one looks like. That was a prototype. So we've got the recess, it's available for Amazon, we talked about all that, and it's lighter and quicker to produce than a full 3D printed end. So now we get into this concept of sectional modules. This one up here is a 90-degree crossing module, so it's got 4 end plates coming together. So I had to make it slightly bigger. It's 13 inches by 13 inches. So the tab and slot is visible on one end, but it doesn't matter because the tab and slots are inset so that when a 12-inch module or wider goes onto the end, the tabs are on the inside. But what this means is there's now a recess in the top. What are we going to do? Well, you guys are lucky you can buy 50mm foam or 2-inch blue foam, pretty much even down here. I can't buy that because what we do is when we make a house, we take a part of the panel, the stud wall, and we dip it in the foam. And it becomes a structurally integrated panel with the foam in it and there's no gap. So from an insulation perspective, when that stud wall section's about 7 inches deep for the insulation, the walls of my house are 16 inches thick because it's cold where I live. So you don't need to buy foam, do you? Do that. What we can buy is 20mm or 1 inch, just under 1 inch, thick foam that goes down for under 4 heating. So when you do underfloor heating, you put this foam down on top of the pipes, and that's how that works. So that we can get, unfortunately, there's a suppliers in Manchester, which is about 500 miles from where I live, but it's about 20 minutes drive from my parents. So whenever I've been going down to my parents, I stock up and come back with 10 sheets of foam. So there's the foam top dropped in the top. Now the ones that are going around is the one that I can hold up. Where have they gone? We've lost my modules. Great. Okay, that's good. That's good. It doesn't matter. The white bit on the top is 5 mil. There's one holding up at the back. The white bits on the top are 5 mil foam board. So at 25%, 5 mil, 25% at 20 mil. So that represents where the foam would be. You're holding these up. And so we can make these any length that we want, but we can get really clever with this, okay? And they'll slot together. Great. Now I've done sides. All you need for the tab and slot, of course, is a male to male. So we have the male to male in the middle, and then you can have as many other of normal male to female sides that you want. You slot them together as long as there's a side with 2 tabs on it on both sides. Somewhere in your side, you can make your side as long as you want. Now, who's got a Y-shaped? Who's got a junction module in front of him? Okay, here's one. Oh, they're all collected on one. That's interesting. Okay, give us a corner. Give us a couple corners. We'll do corners. Right. So there was one thing that I think looked pants on a layout, and that's a technical British term for rubbish. Oh, no, that doesn't work. Trash. Right, trash. There we go. Technical British terms. Okay, Harry will be figuring out subtitles for next time I come. And that is when we go around a corner, doesn't it be a bit when the back scene meets at 90 degrees and the track goes round on a curve? Yeah, it's a little bit jarring to the eye or the fascia. So trying to do curved modules like the one over here in the corner, doing the curved fascia can be a bit tricky. And some people that are not very good carpenters struggle with that. Okay? But with 3D printing, you can print any shape that you want. So these are Y modules, and they're a bit stunted in growth, but that's because Really Useful Box Company does a box that these will fit in. Okay? Which also means they can be stacked up in the garage and not get damaged when they're not in use. So that's a Y. It's got 2 curved sides, solid piece 90 degrees, and then 3 end plates. Okay, so that is 6 pieces. We made a perfect, exact junction. We can also do curved 45-degree corners, and we can do 22.5-degree corners. You need to have a straight on corners, because if we do that, we create an S-bend, yeah? So these are designed to have a little bit of an inch of straight. Now at home, I can get away with that, but in a modular setup, I would just go and stick a straight section of whatever I wanted in between it, and that'll meet the standard, okay? And then we'll just say it's fine. But you can print the curves, and also, because we're 3D printing, I don't know if you noticed this as it was going around, but I'll put these back on I'll put this on this table here so they can go back around again, and those are over there if anyone wants to look. The outer curve is a really broad radius. If this is 22 plus 6, it's quite a broad radius, okay? It's 28 inch radius. So the sides need to be in 2 bits, and because it's curved, we can do curved tabs that go into curved holes that the 3D printer does, so it's perfect. So when it comes off, might be a little bit of file and deburring or something like that. You just slot it together and run super glue inside it. Done. Okay. So I'll pass you this back. Okay. So then this means that we've got a really flexible standard. And the best bit is you don't need to be able to do CAD because I've uploaded all my files to Thingiverse. So you too can do this. So that's how it starts to come together. So we've got the 2 ends, 2 bits to make our end plate. We've got as many sides as we want to make our module as long as we want. The sides come in at the minute 150, 200 mil, and 350 mil. You won't be able to print 350 mil sign on anything other than quite a large print bed. You have your cross member that goes across to reinforce it, and these things are absolutely solid. So the question is, there's the prototype finished. Does it work, right? So I've made these 3 modules. We're going to Dallas, president of the NMRA sort of thing. and pretty much don't want to make embarrassment of yourself, do you? But the only way to test these is to test them in anger, okay? So like every good warship, the first time they're going to be tested is when people start shooting at you. So there's that module clamped between two others. It doesn't have any legs. It doesn't need them. It's only 12 inches long. And the wiring's underneath. So that worked. They managed not to destroy it. So we proved the 50% infill worked. Here's the crossing module. The white stuff that you can see on there is just vapor from super glue, which I never managed to clean up. That's the one thing about testing your glues. But there's our 90-degree crossing. They didn't use it in a 90-degree crossing setup, but that's supposed to be in the middle at some point in Evanston next year. Okay? I have to keep coming back and hitting things up. Oh, we hit the wrong way. There we go. Come on. Okay. And then there's a 2-foot module. So that one has 4 pieces in the side, foam top, and a little siding. So even something that's 2 foot long and is clamped, didn't need any legs, doesn't fall. But what we've developed, and you'll see the holes underneath the modules, these are not quite the files for this on this one, but on the other ones, I've put a little slot inside the leg pocket because I injured my knees in the Navy, which is why I'm not working for the Grey Funnel Line anymore. And I now have to get a real job in IT, or at the hospital, one of them, which what I'm doing at the minute. I don't want to be crawling on the floor using adjustable feet. So I also don't want to be taking legs because the legs over there are conduit, I think. I'll be corrected, but usually most Freemo N modules use conduit to hold the legs up, and they go in rifle cases. Now, there was an incident in the UK that meant all the guns in the UK got banned. And I know that's not popular here, but believe me, if you turn up at the airport with a rifle case in the UK, right, you're going to go and have a holiday at the King's pleasure, okay? So what can we do? What do we do? So this was a perplexing problem. I asked the Australians, given that the Australians are already, of course, convict, their relatives were. And so I asked them, what do I do to prevent being arrested? And they couldn't come up with anything. So that wasn't very good. And then I was looking around and I realized that there is one universal standard measurement worldwide. And the Chinese government likes this because China produces more of this thing than any other country in the world. And that is the humble handle for a brush, broom handle. Okay? They are all nominally 49 inches long, or give or take, doesn't matter, give or take within an inch. They're 49 inches long, and they're about 24 mil, because they're 1 inch dowel. So, don't need to fly with legs if we use them, but we can't go and put adjustable feet and carry equipment for doing that nonsense around with us. So, the slot, I call a little biscuit, which is just a circle that you put into there that has a T-nut in it that screws in. You get a knob screw, which is a screw with a knob on it. Basically, it's a bolt with a knob on, but you don't have to. You could use a bolt with a wing nut. And now your adjuster's in the top of the leg pocket and not on the floor. Great for the back. So now, when we fly anywhere, we go to our nearest hardware store, buy ourselves a couple of broom handles inside our modules. Ideally, we're taking the screw off first. And then you can adjust to 50 inches above the ground, tighten it up, done. So we've just saved ourselves another component that we don't need to use when we fly with Southwest to go and take our modules to Evanston. Fantastic. So what I'm working on now is, these are all the modules that are on the tables, is what you can do. So now we can come up with some wonderful shapes. And I kind of think for some reason, I know we're in the great state of Georgia, but I kind of think for some reason, this junction in the middle here kind of reminds me of Texas a little bit. I don't know why, but it kind of does with a bit of a panhandle and stuff. But these are the modules that I'm working on just now, and they all come together to form an industrial spur. So when all the modules that you've got on the tables tonight come together, they form this. This is really the flexibility of Freemo N. At home, I could make that layout or any combination of layout using those modules, and I can travel all over the world with those modules, and they can be in any setup that I want. So my home layout can go anywhere, travel anywhere, and it's light enough to do it. And it goes in a bag, and I fly all over the world potentially with my layout. Although currently we've only gone to Texas, and no, I don't have any modules with me today because I'm here for I'm here for 3 weeks. So you can do this too, okay? You can definitely do this as well. If I can do it, trust me, anyone can do it. So I have my resources up on Thingiverse. If you look for Gordy NMRA on Thingiverse, not all of my files, but most of my files are up on Thingiverse. There's enough files on there for you with an Ender 3 to be able to make a rectangular module of any length that you want. Okay? The other tool that you're going to need, depending what you're using, I use Fusion 360. If you want to modify your files or create or draw your own files, you can take mine to have a look at the STLs and work it out for yourself and just copy them. It's not difficult. 15 mil wide, etc., etc. It's not difficult. You can just go and measure it. You need to use Fusion 360 ideally, which is a step up from SketchUp. Who's used SketchUp? No one? You people? Don't be shy. Don't be shy. It's okay. We all start somewhere. So SketchUp's great though. It's free software and it's got an app that you can use on your tablet and it's cool for drawing things, right? Fusion 360, did you know, which is Fusion 360's Autodesk, which is AutoCAD, which most engineers use in the world. Don't worry, apparently it does do fractional inches, but I can't do fractional inches. I do millimeters. But it's a really, really good tool. It allows you to draw in 2D and then 3D model afterwards by extrusion. So it's easy if you're used to drawing with a pencil and a rule. And if you're a hobbyist, you can get a free license for it. So everybody in this room could go to Autodesk 360 and download a copy of Fusion 360 for free, or once you sign up for a hobbyist license. And all you have to do is log in once every 5 years. Not too difficult. Every time you open the software, it logs you in. Should probably say that. And you get up to 10 files that you can have in cloud storage that you can share with your friends. You can collaborate and work on something. So the tools, this is what a 3D printer looks like for those that have never seen one before, but I doubt it by now. That's a Ender 3. Like I say, they can go anywhere between $100 and $150. You can usually grab a really good deal. Now is the time to get a good deal. Why? Because they're trying to get rid of inventory because all the new printer models will be coming out for Christmas. So you might find a better deal now in October than you will at the end of November when it's Thanksgiving and that horrible shopping day on a Friday. You then need slicing software. Now you'll find that 3D printed slicing software generally comes with your printer, so this isn't something that you have to buy. It comes with the printer. This is what you use to adjust the settings to do infill. I could do a whole clinic on how to do slicing software. I'm not going to. There's plenty of YouTube videos, that great resource. There's plenty of YouTube videos. I'll put this down. Plenty of YouTube videos that tell you how to do that. But you are definitely going to need slicing software, and that allows you to adjust the infill and also the design of your infill. And you can spin things around and do all kinds of things. It's quite cool. So that's the end of the 3D printing clinic. I'm going to say, in my defense, okay, I was in Orkney and I was unsupervised. But if anyone seriously wants to have a go at this, there are probably about a dozen modelers now that have picked up my files. I haven't really publicized that I've done this. This is the second time I've given this clinic. By all means, get in touch with me and I will help you, but try and have a go yourself. It's not actually as complicated as you think. If you've done 3D printing before, you can do this. If you're not interested in going flying around the country, taking part in massive setups, may not be for you, but the application is there for you to apply it to other stuff. Okay, so we'll move into a few more boring stuff and I'll try to be as quick as possible. So everywhere I go, people always want to know what's happening at National, okay? So this is the October 2023 update. I appreciate you had an update at the convention for those that were there, but I also noticed that not everyone's hand flew up. There's only 6 slides left. If you stay awake for 6 slides, we'll be getting on. Great. So what has already arrived from National, still not enough of you have downloaded this, so there's a QR code there now that you can try out. You can scan this QR code. Even if you're at home on WebEx, you can scan the QR code, and it will take you to the NMRA's digital app. Now, this is a really fancy QR code because it will either take you to a really good application store for Android, or it will take you to a fruit farm for Apple products. Okay? And you can download both. If you choose to be a user of superior technology, i.e. Android, it will even do a lot of accessibility features and it will read the magazine to you. So if you can't read the text, it will read it out loud to you. it will blow things up. And that was really a key thing of why I wanted the digital magazine, because I saw far too many people looking at the NMRA magazine and doing this and getting a magnifying glass and doing this, and I thought there's got to be a better way. This is definitely a better way. And Riley and myself and the team, we looked for the best app that we could with the biggest amount of accessibility features, and that's what we've done. So please do have a look at that. We've got currently about 50% of the membership access the digital magazine on a monthly basis now. So we're not even 2 years in. So it's going really well. 3D, not 3D printed, silly boy. Printed magazines, right? The printed magazine has dropped by about 3,000 subscribers. So 3,000 people have now, just over 3,000 people have decided to drop the digital magazine in favor of this. So it was, people may have said for years we shouldn't do it, but actually it was what people wanted. We also launched the NMRA Interchange. This is a place where you can talk to all the great people in this room without having to use the dangerous things of social media. And I'm not going into your politics in your country, but you have politicized social media like no one else. And I hate going on social media now because it's all I ever see. But on the Interchange, we have none of that nonsense. It's just trains, and all trains. So you can get on the Interchange. You can talk to members all over the world. There's a text and video chat function, which we call hangout rooms, and you can just drop in and talk to anybody anytime you want. So if you say, Perry, I want to talk to you about something, I just message Perry on the Interchange and we drop into a hangout room, and if anyone else turns up, they turn up, and it's great, and we have a good chat. There are areas just for your region and division. So there is an area in there just for the Piedmont division. You can hold meetings, hang out with your friends, you can do classes, clinics, even live stream op sessions. We've had all that done into there. It's a totally free benefit for members, divisions and regions. It costs the NMRA diddly squat, absolutely nothing to do this, so it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer, and well over 800 members now use the Interchange platform, which we launched at the beginning of April. So what are we working on? So one of the most important things in the NMRA, right, well, let's ask a question. I'm going to be participation from the audience. Sorry about the guys online, I can't see you, so you'll have to bear with me. How many members does the NMRA recruit roughly per year? 1,000, yeah, it does. Well, someone's giving you the answers. Who's giving you the answers? Right. You listen to my podcast, right? So about 1,200 leave us. Of the 1,200, about 200 leave us for a non-renewal position of going up to the big railroad in the sky. No matter how hard I try, the Almighty will put them back to renew. So we've got to fix this onboarding and retention problem that we have in our organization. What we do, who remembers as a kid the film Dumbo? It's one of my earliest memories of watching a film. And what happens at the beginning of Dumbo? Remember? Stalked, yeah, dropped from 50,000 feet, right? That's what we do with our members. Hey, people join and find the NMRA, they join the NMRA, and we drop them into the organization for 50,000 feet. We don't even give them a parachute, and you know how the rest of the song goes, especially if you're a paratrooper, okay? So, not a good move, and we need to fix that. So, I've created a retention and onboarding task force. Mike is involved in that, and a few others. Scott was also involved in that when he was with us. And we are working on a couple of things with that. So we'll be trying a online NMRA meeting for all new members each month. We'll be doing a trial of that between now and Christmas, just on the West Coast. It will involve us having what they call pathfinders, which is members to work with a new member to make sure a new member can access whatever it is that made them want to join the NMRA, whether that's coming to a meeting like this or whether that's being able to participate in op sessions or events. And also at that meeting, they'll go through all of the benefits such as the magazine and the Interchange, the partnership program, etc. The other part of this, the retention bit, is to have and extract all the really good ideas of why people don't renew. Who are the best people to know or come up with ideas of why people don't renew? Correct. Good. It's like always the best division to come and talk to. So, yes. Okay. It is the people that don't renew. So we started surveying the people that don't renew. And 15% of the people that don't renew said, if you just send me a PayPal invoice, I'll pay it. So we started sending people PayPal invoices so they could just click and pay it. And a renewal's gone up. So they're looking at really good stuff. You'll see lots of things coming out from this group, potentially including automatic payments, for potentially NMRA doing monthly payments as an option rather than a one-off annual fee. And you'll also be able to potentially in the future move into a opt-in to an auto renewal cycle. So then we don't have to send you renewal notices because you've committed to being an NMRA member forever. So why do we keep sending you renewal notices? And we can focus on doing other great things like playing with trains. So all good. So that's what that group's doing. And they're working really, really hard as group volunteers. If anyone's really interested in retention and onboarding, speak to Mike and he'll get you in the team. Leadership. We've heard tonight from some future leaders of this division, hopefully. Okay. And as was evidenced tonight, somebody said, I'm not going to run. So now we've got a problem of, what do you do, Rick? Okay. Okay. But if you've not got someone to fill a position, what's the Piedmont Division way? Do you walk them up the plank, or is it knife point? Or okay, good. So you're really lucky. You are the biggest division in the NMRA by members, not by geography. I think I beat you on geography. Okay, and I tell you who really beats everybody, the European division, which used to be a region, right? They're hands down beat everyone, okay? From Iceland to Putin. So everywhere in between, right? Wherever Putin is, that's the end of their division. And so I'm really concerned because leaders are not coming forward. Why do I think leaders are not coming forward? Because we don't equip people with the tools to be successful. And if you've had experience in your professional career of working in a management role or working in a leadership role, how do we expect you to just parachute in and do a role that you've never done before or you've never been trained for? So I was with Scale today and with a number of other manufacturers and also people within the not-for-profit world. The NMRA is working towards holding a Model Railroad Future Leadership Training Summit. That won't just be for the NMRA, that'll be for model railroaders, members of clubs, that'll be for members who volunteers at museums. Most trade museums I've been to have a model railroad, so it kind of ties in. And also within the model railroad manufacturing industry. And we'll have industry leaders, not-for-profit leaders, and other external experts come in and you'll have the opportunity to take part in a virtual conference. It'll be kind of webinar based. It won't be just live streamed on YouTube, so you'll be safe in a safe space. And we'll be able to talk about how we drive this hobby forward. Because I think without really good younger and newer, not necessarily younger, but new leadership and new ideas coming in, we won't flourish as a hobby. It's never mind as an NMRA. So it's really important that we do that. The vision is to drive forward the growth of scale model railroading. Well, we need to do that everywhere, not just within ourselves, although that would be lovely, but we need to do that across the whole hobby, as we know. So that'll be year, and I hope that'll be really well attended. I think it's going to be a really great benefit for the NMRA, and education is all good, and the IRS love it. The next thing that we're working on is our engagement. Lucy. It's not just Lucy, but there's Lucy. Lucy is the future modeling, model railroading anyway, and so lots of other people. If we as an organization have a really, really good legacy to give to the next generation, really good. This is the organization of some fantastic model railroaders, some real innovators in the hobby, real innovators in the world, okay? And no matter what you think of Rod Stewart's music, all right, he is an innovator in model railroading, okay, amongst others. However, whilst your legacy may feel priceless, if there's no one to hand it on to, it's worthless, and that is terrible. So we, as an organization, need to be better at engaging with model railroaders. Whoever they are, whatever they're interested in, we need to be better at engaging with them. And that the board has brought Lucy on board to look at how we increase our engagement. Now, Lucy's been with us since the beginning of September. It's the beginning of October. We've added over 1,500 new followers to the NMRA's Facebook page. On LinkedIn, most of the executives of most of the Class 1 railroads in North America now follow the NMRA. Okay? And that's where the NMRA can get a significant amount of funding from to help us grow, ultimately. Okay? So Lucy's really, really important. I'm sure you've seen some stuff. I took a selfie while Perry was introducing the evening from over there. It's already all over Facebook. Okay? So that's what's really, really good about us having somebody there to help us. So the main thing is around growing awareness that we even exist. We conservative estimates by, so it's interesting. Shane Wilson reckons that there are between 800,000 and 1 million model railroaders in the US. I would say that's probably accurate. The modeling press thinks that there's about 350,000. There are 650,000 subscribers to Virtual Railfan. Not all in the US. They are worldwide. It's a worldwide thing. Luke Towan. Who's heard of Luke Towan? Yeah. Luke Towan's an NMRA member. He's a pilot. He flies for us. Sorry, it's not twinned with Delta. Okay. He flies. It's amazing that they do fly anywhere, isn't it? If you watch the press about Qantas, yeah, it's amazing they fly anywhere. He flies upstate Queens, up whatever they call it. Yeah, I think they call it. He flies in northern Queensland, flies little Bombardier Q400s and Dash 400s, whatever, Dash 8s, whatever they're. Little planes with propellers, that'll work. And he flies, but he also has 1.2 million subscribers on YouTube for a model railroading YouTube channel. And he doesn't put out much content. He only puts out content once or twice, every 1 or 2 months. So the people are out there, but they don't know that we exist, and we've got to fix that. So that's what we're doing, and we're sharing our message with a much wider audience. We're seeing that already start to pay off. The NMRA has, I've said this on many podcasts, but I understand you may not listen to them, and if you listen to the most recent one that I got bombarded and battered on, you probably don't want to listen to any at all, and I totally understand that. But in 1992, the NMRA had about 28,500 members. We're now down to 15,500 members. We've been in decline ever since 1992. I can tell you right now that we're on a winning season this year. So last year, only 2 months of the year did the NMRA grow. We declined. This year, so as an end of September position, I'm on 6th and 3. Okay, and being a Packers fan, I'd take that. So we are getting there, and we are 99 members up on where we were at the end of December. That's where I take my cut off. So we're 99 members up. October's a big renewal month for us. If we carry through this will be the first year of positive growth in the NMRA since 1992. But the problem within the NMRA, thank you. The problem that we've got is that the average age of the NMRA in 1992 was, who's been listening to my podcasts and me ranting on before, 56. The average age of the NMRA in 2023 is not nice. It's in the 70s, it's in the late 70s. It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. We're facing a cliff edge of people that the Almighty will not allow to renew anymore. And we have to fix that. So part of that is sharing our message with a wider audience. So that's what we're working on. Lucy's also going to be working on NMRA branding. One of the other big problems that we have is that whilst I like polka dot, we have a polka dot logo situation going on in the NMRA. There are 150 divisions in North America, and there are 150 different logos. And the NMRA as a whole, there are then 18 other regions in North America, all have a different logo, and then there's the NMRA. And so when we go to train shows like Springfield and we bring multiple regions and multiple divisions together, it looks like a patchwork quilt. And with no consistent brand, we use different colors, we all use different text, we all use different messaging even. And that doesn't help. I use something from the South, Chick-fil-A. If Chick-fil-A, okay, had a different on every single restaurant door or above the restaurant, you wouldn't, and a different logo and use different colors, but still said Chick-fil-A somewhere on it, even if it was like font 12, okay, on a billboard, you would have no clue. You would think that was some kind of independent chicken shop or something, okay? And if they all didn't close on a Sunday, well, that would be even more confusing, right? So we need to sort that out, and that's what Lucy and Christina and the team are working on. I'm not going to suggest that you follow us on any particular platform. I will just briefly mention that we are on TikTok now, if you are on TikTok. Ultimately, not going into the politics of TikTok, I'm not even going there. I'm not allowed to be on TikTok for not political reasons, but national security reasons. But TikTok is there. Young people are there on TikTok. The algorithms will put our content to them and it will increase awareness. Okay, so we need to be there, unfortunately. We need to be where people are. That's just the way it is. So that's what's going on. There's loads and loads of other things going on that people all over the country are working, all over the world actually, in the NMRA now, are working on. We're working really, really hard. If you've got something that you feel you can contribute nationally or even locally, ideally locally, locally first, nationally second, then we'd be really grateful to hear from you and encourage you to come forward and contribute. Don't all jump forward at the end of this, so I'll forget everybody's name. So just drop me an email at president@nmra.org. Give me any idea of what you want to do, and we'll do whatever we can to facilitate it. And if anyone's got any really good ideas and things that you think this is a no-brainer, the NMRA should be doing it, then tell me, and you might find yourself doing it. Okay. All right. Empowerment is the key, people. And that is the end of everything I've got to say to you. Thank you for having me.
That was awesome. Okay, please remember November meeting. John Myers is going to be talking about the SCARM layout planning software. SCARM layout planning software. Bring and brag will be something unusual in freight cars from any era. So bring something unusual in terms of freight cars. There's some really cool stuff out there. And the open house for November is, of course, the pilgrimage. Have a happy evening. Go home. Drive safely. Don't drive over closed bridges.
Get by the mailbox. Card is there.
Okay.
Back. Give me a call and tell me the numbers and stuff.
I certainly will. I will.